This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4.
Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Carson. Welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. And inviting everybody to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. There's something there for everyone. Go check it out. I want to welcome my guest this week, Alejandro Patino. How you doing, sir?
Doing great.
And it is Patino, right?
Patino con ñ, pero aquí, here, they don't put the ñ.
They don't put the ñ, so it is Patino.
It is Patino.
Okay, so on this show, we're going to do it official. Señor Alejandro Patino, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, bien, bien.
We were trying in the pre-interview, figure out where I met you.
Yeah.
I thought I'm gonna have to look through IMDb. I think I did background in something that you did.
Right.
And we just never worked together, but we're in the same project.
Right.
Which happens a lot here in LA.
Of course.
But then the first time we officially met was at a Latino film festival, correct?
Right.
And I came up to you. I probably stalked you for a little while.
Well, probably, but you were at in the ticket booth. So,
Yes, that's the perfect stalking place, by the way. For anybody out there listening, if you ever volunteer at a film festival, do ticket, yes, or registration, because you meet everybody.
Yeah.
I think I passed out like 100 business cards that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and only a handful of people have been able to really connect, and
right.
I stayed friends with some people, so it's always cool. Yeah. What were you promoting at that film festival? Do you remember?
I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was a short film that I had produced and acted in called Desert Roadkill back in the day.
Oh yeah.
It's like at least that was at least 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, 2012. I'm looking at your IMDb page as we're speaking, because you have a very impressive IMDb page.
Oh,
so,
thank you.
Oh, that's right. That's how the degrees of separation came. Josara Hinaro.
Oh, Josara. Okay.
Yeah. Her and I worked on Callejero together.
Okay.
So that's how.
And she played my wife in the movie. In my
yes, and her and I never had any scenes together, but she was the La Tejana.
Right.
In Callejero.
movie.
Yes, and I played Francisco in Callejero, so we never had any parts
scenes
together.
together.
Yeah. That's how it was.
Okay.
I met her, and then she was next to you, and I was like, oh my God, that's Alejandro Patino. I was like, I gotta meet him. See, I knew I would connect the dots.
Yeah.
Anyway, but thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We scheduled a couple of times, so this is kind of cool.
Yeah. Finally, we're
Finally.
here.
Todo pasa. Everything happens when it's supposed to.
If it's meant to be, yes, sir.
Well, let's start with the question. Alejandro, tell us how you put it together.
How I put it together? Well, wow, that goes back a lot of years. I mean, I've been in this industry for 40 years. In the union, I've been there for at least, I would say 36, 37 years in the union as a SAG member. But I started in theater in college. I grew up as a poor Blaxican child in Compton. I would be a Mexican at home, and then when I went to school, of course, the majority of people in our classes were black, African American in that respect in Compton. Back in that time, I was back in 74 when I graduated from junior high school, and then I went to Junipero Cerro in Gardena, my freshman year, and then transferred when we moved from Compton. We moved to Paramount, and then I started going to Downey High School, not Downey High School, but high school in Downey, called Pius X. So I was there till I graduated, of course, and then from there I went to Cerritos College. Entered as a business major because we had a family business, grocery store, deli that we had for a while. We had it for about 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I entered Cerritos College, I entered as a business major because everybody was saying, "Oh, you're going to take over your family business, your dad's thing," and intention was business classes.
Can I ask you what the environment was for Latinos in the 70s?
It wasn't very well. Wasn't very good. I mean, because we had a business, I remember we used to get robbed at least once or twice a month.
Really?
At gunpoint, sometimes. My mom got the bulk of the robberies because my dad would go off and buy things and come back. I got one, which I think changed my mind as to doing the family business.
Oh, okay.
This was about like in 78 high school. Yeah, 78 in high school. We had a gentleman come in with a gun, had everybody go onto the ground. I was at the cash register, and he'd come up to me and put the gun up against my ribs. And he says, he was watching us, it was a Friday. He was watching us cashing checks. So he came up, had everybody on the ground, put the gun to my ribs, and he says, "Give me the money." So I gave him all the money from the cash register. Then he goes, "Now give me the money from the back of the counter, and I see you cashing your checks." Blah, blah. So as I turned around, and the gun ends up going off. So I missed getting killed by this much, yeah. So I think that was a turning point in my decision to, when I went to college, entered business. I took an extracurricular class, which was tennis and acting. Because I was always into the arts.
Right.
My dad played guitar. Our cousins used to choreograph a little jarabe tapatillo, mariachi stuff. You know, we used to perform for our family and stuff. But that acting class, my acting teacher asked me if you'd audition for a play that I'm directing. There's a role that you'd probably be in. It was. It was called The Life and Times of Jesse James. It's a musical, and it was called Diamond Studs. It was the first time that we were doing it on the West Coast premiere, and of course I auditioned. I got the part. Waldo Chumpes de Medina was the character's name. A little comedy stuff, and that was it. After that, the bug, like they say, I got bit by the bug big time, and that's when I started the acting. And even then, I dropped all my business classes and got into everything in theater that I can think of.
What did your family say?
Acting. Well, of course, my dad's going, "What are you thinking?" You know what I mean? So
I'm sorry, acting and the other classes?
and then the everything in theater in terms of stage managing, lighting, sound. I participated in every one of those aspects because I figured if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, I want to be well rounded as a performer and as a technician of the arts in that respect. So I did that, and actually, I think the second year, dancing took over my life too. So I danced for about a good 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, jazz. I started with ballet, jazz, modern, and at that time, that was when breaking was starting to happen. This was like the early 80s. Yeah. So that was starting to happen. So,
and I'm going to harp a little bit on the Latino part, just because.
We're talking back to Compton?
No. I mean, in dancing and all that.
Oh, yeah.
As a Latino man, taking ballet or taking jazz, or
right.
In those years, was that common, or were you breaking some ground?
I was breaking ground in terms of my family. This is nothing that they would think that
You were the first one.
I was the first one, in college in that respect, and that was my choice. I loved dancing. Was like, it still is. I love everything there is about dancing.
Cool.
So let me get back to growing up in Compton.
Yes.
In the 70s, 60s, and 70s. In the 60s, it was an Anglo community. It was the hub city of Los Angeles back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like on the outskirts, people would move out and created the community and everything. And then when the Watts riots happened, we still had our business. That's when everything turned. The Watts riots in the 60s happened, and our business was being protected by the National Guard. We were a liquor store deli, but they were still there on our property. So rioters wouldn't, tear it down or
right.
burn it and then take all the stuff out. That was the first one back in the 60s. So the community started changing. Then it became more African American. That's when the white flight started happening, and they were going out to Orange County.
Oh, okay.
In that respect, from Compton, you can kind of see throughout the years how they just kept going further and further out, and the community started becoming a little bit more black and Mexican in that respect. Predominantly black, and then the Mexican culture started coming in I would say in the late 70s, early 80s. That's when we started coming into Compton, and the dynamic changed in terms of the city.
Wow.
Growing up.
This is like history stuff I'm from Texas.
Right.
So I've only been in California 9 years. This is like history stuff that I don't know about it, which is really interesting. I'm sure a lot of people that even live here probably don't know about that.
Well, as the story continues, we still had the business when the LA riots happened.
Really?
Yeah. Like I said, we had the business for about 22, 23 years. So
you guys saw it from the inside out.
Yeah, both. I have shootings in Compton. The racial tensions of Mexicans and blacks. All that stuff. I saw growing up in schools also.
How does that affect you now?
Learning everything that I have in these 58 years I've been on this planet. Compton was in the 60s, it was like 63 on for a good 20 years. So I was like in the 80s when we finally sold the family business. So living in that span, like I said at the beginning, I grew up black when I wasn't at home, and I grew up Mexican when I was at home, because when we come home and our grandparents lived with us, and whenever we had family gatherings on the weekends, they all came to where the grandparents were.
Right, the heart of it all.
The heart of it all,
yeah.
and then that was it. So that's why I call myself a Blackskin in that respect. You know what I mean? Which not everybody's lived that life. I just realized that. Through that question, not everybody has lived a life like that. That I know. The people that I grew up in elementary school with, a lot of them aren't around anymore, because the gang stuff.
Yeah.
When I was living in Compton, I got to see the Crips and the Pyru and the Bloods and all that stuff originate, because walking home from school, I remember just, I had to. At one point, I almost acted retarded. Or I'm sorry, for
that time,
handicapped.
For that time, that's what it was.
They wouldn't mess with me. You know what I mean? But they would mess with you anyway. Whether you were, they would come up to you, hey brother, you got any? What do you got? You got any money? And I just go like, I don't have anything. Then they check your pockets and everything. And if you didn't have anything, they just pop you in the jaw. Just for next time.
Wow.
That was my experience. Of course, everybody's experience is different, in that respect. But that was me growing up. But I growing up with the friends in elementary school, went to Catholic school junior year, and made really good friends there. And when we talked about it, when we gather and stuff, we talk about it. We go, we never thought about race. We were just kids. We just grew up with each other and had a good time, or had our little arguments here and there. But we never thought about race at that point. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're first generation.
I'm first generation here. Yes.
Yeah. So I always say that I am, because we moved here when I was 3.
Yeah.
And you go through that culture shock, because like you said, I grew up like you did. Mexican at home,
right,
and everything else I could adjust to when I was out at school.
Yeah,
because I only spoke English at school.
Uh-huh.
how did that affect you? I mean, was it hard for you growing up bicultural?
No, I think it actually helped me.
Yeah.
You know, because in high school I was voted the class clown.
Oh, okay.
So, like the same thing, you know, being out in the streets. How do you defend yourself? You know, I mean, you got 3 or 4 other guys, you know, coming up to you and saying, "Hey, yeah, you got any money?" Blah blah. You had to be funny. You know, I had to be funny. You know? So I guess that's where I got my training.
That, you know, defense mechanisms as a kid.
Exactly.
I was bullied a lot as a kid, and I became pretty witty and smart mouth.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm smart mouth. So now it just gets me in trouble. But as a kid, it would get you out of that situation
sure.
at the moment. Yeah. As an actor, and I've had this conversation with other people, going back to those years. There's a big debate, and it's been going on for years, about Latino representation in Hollywood.
Correct.
Or in film, per se. I always tell people that I don't feel like I missed out because I grew up watching all the Mexican movies that my parents watched.
Right.
And you had Cantinflas, Pedro Infante.
Resortes.
Chespirito, and all those people. I'm like, I saw a lot of positive Latinos on film.
But it wasn't mainstream America.
Right.
Mainstream America, like right now, since I don't have cable, I got the box, so I get all these off channels, you know, like Grit and Bounce and all these other ones. Well, the majority of stuff that they're replaying, which normal networks will not do anymore, was westerns and old shows like, you know, Father Knows Best and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there watching this stuff from the 50s to 60s, and you look at it, and you're going, wow, Hollywood was so racist, for lack of a better word. Everything that was portrayed in those was, you know, the cowboys were good guys, you know, the Indians were bad people, you know, the Mexicans were always lazy and slow and all this other stuff. And it was like, I look at it now, being in the industry for so long, and that question keep popping up, you know, about Latinos being misrepresented in this genre or job of an actor. And we are, literally we are. I had one time, was auditioning for something, and I was talking with the casting director, and he goes, that question popped up about, you know, Latinos in the industry, and I go, and she told me, well, you guys have your own programming. I go, we have our own programming? Yeah, you have your, you know, your Channel 34, your 52, you know, you got your little Latino stations, you know. Yeah, but I'm an American. I was born here. I was raised visually, like going back and talking about those shows. Yeah. You know, that information that's coming into you as a kid, this is the way American life and families grow up. Like Father Knows Best. Everything's worked out. Let's talk about it. You know, let's do that. It never works that way.
No, we got the chancla first.
It was a fantasy. Yeah. Which, you know, acting and the arts is a fantasy type of thing. There's some reality based stuff, but it was. In terms of the representation, I still don't get it here. You know what I mean? There's so much that we need to express ourselves as Latinos on film that we don't get the privilege like the African American people who have been fighting for representation. Also, they seem to have a bigger voice and more. They're more connected to each other. Whereas Latinos, for me, we have an issue with ourselves, being that South America, Central America, Mexico, there's so many variety of different Latino cultures that when they come to Hollywood, you know, they get lumped into being Mexican. Yeah. Gangbangers, you know, prostitutes. So when they come up to Hollywood to try and make it, you know, even though they don't look it, but they have the sound and the name, the language, you know, they can hear the language. Like, oh, casting-wise, oh, you're Mexican.
Mexican, yeah.
I mean, that's the issue that we have. And the fact that not all those cultures like to be called Mexican or like to be pushed into a bunch,
boxed into
this bunch. So they get pissed off. And so I think we have an animosity within each other.
That we didn't even start.
Yeah, that we didn't start. No.
We just got thrown into there.
And to me, South America, Mexico, Central America, there's so much more of a diverse cultures. So South America, World War, the World War with the Russians and everything. Where did those Germans go?
Yeah.
Yeah, they went down to South America.
Yeah, Argentina and Venezuela has a bunch of Italians, and yeah. And it's interesting because we were talking in the pre-interview about things that I learned from my guest or from a client whenever, and that's as you were saying, like we get intimidated. I have 3 scripts that I've been working on for like 5 years.
Right.
They just need to be finished, and I think my subconscious goes, well, when you finish them, then you have to go to the next step, and I keep blocking myself from doing it.
Right.
So that's interesting. Well, I'm going to have to sit down and put my ass to work and finish them out.
Get the voice out there.
Yeah. Thank you for that one.
Sure.
That's a little words of wisdom that you're going to you threw my way without.
And that's what's happening now. Like I tell younger actors, we have to do it for ourselves now.
Yeah.
We have to create content for ourselves because Hollywood is not doing it.
Yeah, and the stuff that they do sometimes is not. I'm like, really, dudes?
But at the same time, I made a career out of playing, like I always tell people, I'm on this TV show, I'm going to be doing this movie. Oh, what do you play? He goes, I play the Mexican. Because that's what I play. I'm an immigrant father, I'm an immigrant this, I own a store, I get killed, I get beat up,
Yeah, I've been
But I made a career out of it.
I've been a fruit vendor 4 times now.
There you go.
So, and I'm like, I'm really good at fruit vending now. I can have, if this acting and hosting thing doesn't work out, you'll see me somewhere in downtown LA with the fruit cart.
And that's what gets me, that's what gets me about the United States in that respect. You go down the freeways on on the roads, and I still go back to Compton. I got family in Compton, and there are taco vendors, 4 or 5 on one block.
Yeah.
And on the freeways, you see, these guys selling oranges and flowers and stuff. But where do you see the Americans? Even Chicanos, with the sign, vet, homeless, give money. But you see these people, immigrants that are coming here that are supposedly taking jobs.
Yeah, that's my argument too. Because you see this old lady selling flowers on one end, and then the widow on the other side.
He was drunk.
Yeah.
Said, hey, give me, in fact, there was a couple of times in Hollywood that I had come from a restaurant and had some decent food. And, a homeless man right there. Hey, you hungry, brother? No, man. You got any money?
Yeah.
It's like, wow. But money was for something else. Not thinking of themselves as hungry.
Yeah. I admire the guy that sits on a corner and says, need money for beer. At least he's being honest about it.
Being honest, yes.
You know what? Here's a couple of bucks, man. Go get yourself a beer.
Same thing in Venice. The guy said, need money for smoke.
Yeah. At least you're being honest about it and you're not lying to me.
Yeah.
So, let's forward the story a little bit.
Sure.
When do you hit Hollywood for the first time?
I hit Hollywood for the first time. I joined AFTRA. At that time, you can join AFTRA and not have to worry, do SAG thing where you get signed in. That was the first thing I got, my union card that I got. And when I joined, I did an industrial commercial for McDonald's.
Oh, nice.
And under AFTRA rules and SAG, if you get a principal role in AFTRA, you're eligible to join SAG crossover. So my parent union was AFTRA, and my sister union would have been SAG, or would be SAG. So when I did that, the first thing I did as soon as I got my contract, I went down to SAG and said, boom, here. So I joined SAG at that time at half price, even, which was cool. And the first thing I did was join another union called the Screen Extras Guild. So I did background work for about 3.5 years early on. I got in through a girlfriend of mine that I met in college, and she helped me join. And the first show that I got on was Hill Street Blues.
Oh wow, I love that show.
Yeah. So I was doing background work on it, and we were in a restaurant scene, a little diner thing, and I was so excited because, the actor was right next to me. And I'm going, oh shit, I'm going to be, oh, sorry. I'll go,
That's okay.
Okay, I'll go, oh shit, I'm going to be on camera. I'm going to be on, people are going to see me. So I was telling everybody at home when I got, when the airing starts coming up, and then, I go, here comes the scene. And then, they got the shot of the actor, and all you see is this. I go, that's my shoulder.
Everybody, look.
That's me right there. So that was my first experience in TV. My very first experience in film was a cult movie called The Forbidden Zone.
Okay.
Yeah. That became a cult film now with Hervé Villagez. Richard Elfman, brother to Danny Elfman, wrote the script, and Danny did all the music. And you're gonna have to go all the way back.
Yeah, I'm going
IMDb.
down. Yeah.
And you know what? It's not even registered because I did background work.
Oh, wow.
That's another thing.
For those of you watching or listening, I'm going through his. Check out his IMDb page. I'll post it on the page, but it was huge.
And that was another one where I said, "Wow, this is great," because I was getting paid, to have fun. You know what I mean? The other realization was when I was doing background work, and I did a movie called, or TV series called Visitors. Okay. About the aliens coming down and blah blah blah. Well, here I am. I'm 23, 22 years old, and doing background work on this show, and up in Valencia and in the hills, and they give me a machine gun with bullets and stuff. No, not real bullets. Blanks. And I'm walking around. I'm there for a week, right? And I'm going. Here I am working on this TV show, running around with jeeps and stuff, and shooting in the sky with guns. I go, what more could you want to do?
It's like being a kid again.
Exactly. And the money was decent because we were getting $100 bump for doing what we were doing extra, which is the guns and running around with the vehicles and stuff like that. So I was making some decent money back then as an extra. Of course, the economy and everything's changed.
Right.
After 40 years.
And you were in your 20s?
I was in my 20s at that time. So my first break to be an actor was a movie called it was with Linda Blair. I played a bad guy. I was actually doing stunts also.
Oh, nice. In that
respect, yeah. I forgot the name of it. Maybe you might be able to find it on IMDb. But that was the first actual contracted job working as an actor or stuntman.
And that was early on?
That was, way early on. That was, let's see, I got out of college. So I was like in the mid 80s to late 80s. Probably early 80s in that respect. It's been so long, And as you can tell, I got a long list there on the
Night Force.
Night Force. There you go. Night Force. It was something else before, but then they changed it to Night Force.
That's a good cast.
Yeah. It was pretty good back in that time. That was,
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast list. That's pretty. Linda Blair, Chadwick Queen.
Yeah.
James Wilder, Cameron Mitchell.
Right.
That's a good cast.
Yeah, it was a good cast. It was fun.
What was your coming into Hollywood? What was your mindset? What was your illusion or fantasy of what Hollywood was going to be like?
Well, I'd never had any
or expectations of
that. I was just lost in the fact that I'm doing this. I was just lost like that. When I was doing the background work, I wasn't sitting, in a chair reading a book and all that stuff. I was by camera. I was by looking at the actors and seeing what they were doing. That was actually probably the best class that I ever took in those 3 years, learning how production worked. Whose positions. Like I said, in theater, I took everything. You know what I mean? I wanted to learn what it was that everybody's position was supposed to be.
Right.
And to me, I think that made me a more well-rounded actor, knowing who's doing what and why they're doing it and why the actor has to wait. Because as actors, we what's that term they say? We get paid to wait.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I tell folks back in Houston where I started acting that sometimes complain that they go on set and they're asked to do something extra, like hold this light or hold the boom and I'm like, dude, that's how I learned. Because I can go on a set now and if I'm part of the main cast, I'll be like, that's not a good spot. Like,
right, that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, I was like, and then I'll just turn, they're like, oh, that's better. I'm like, yeah, because you learn.
Oh, you mean in terms of working in front of the camera?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, because
exactly.
when
Hitting
I was
your mark,
yeah,
your tight close-ups, and don't make big movements because this is, the camera is so close to you.
And knowing if the boom is not close enough, or
Right.
knowing if your light is not hitting you right.
If you're not hitting right, you got to hit your spot.
Yeah, because in Houston, I remember I did a couple of things back there, but they were like, "Are you in this scene?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Can you hold this, this light, or can you hold this boom, or can you hold the reflector?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I'm like, "Why am I doing this?" Oh, I see. And then you move it slightly. You're like, "Okay, they're out of light, no light." And you're like, "I get it."
Yeah.
So when I came to LA and I was doing all those independent stuff and
Right.
student films, I'd be like, "Guys, before we go, I'm not in the light. Can
Right.
we move that reflector?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And they're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Because you
do it.
You do it. You learn." So I tell the kids back in Houston, I'm like, "Don't complain if they ask you to do something. Learn from that, and it's going to help you out."
And that's the difference between an actor and, like I said, somebody being well-rounded, a performer. Being able to know what everybody's job is, I think, is a big plus for you, because then you don't, as this actor over here, going, "Oh man, well, I got another audition," or I'm here on the day, and it's like, "Oh, it's boring," and it's like you make what you get out of it, what you put into it. Rather than be complaining about it, why don't you stand by camera? Why don't you talk to some of these people and know what their jobs are? You know what I mean? Because to me, that's how you make connections also in the industry. That AD is going to be directing sometime soon. Or that cameraman is working on a project and they're trying to cast it and somebody says, "Well, who would be good for that?" The DP will go, "Well, I worked with this actor before, he's great, why don't you bring him in for an audition, blah, blah." Same thing with the directors and stuff. I mean, you got to make those connections.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people miss out on that. Like, it doesn't matter how pretty you are, if you don't make a good impression, you probably won't be back. Yeah.
It's funny, but I would when I work with people who are on the same page, and you want to have a good time with them. When you get that one person that pessimistic and always complaining and sorry, but you're not working with me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of this last project that I worked on called Papi Chulo, which will be out sometime either at the end of the year or probably next year.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I jumped way over, the timeline in that respect. But that was an example of everybody working together.
Yeah.
It was like a Benetton commercial in terms of the crew. We had people from Japan, Japanese American, Filipino American, Korean American. He brought in an Irish crew from Ireland, which I'm going to go visit in April.
Nice.
I'm going to Dublin. Yeah, and it was such a familial feeling on the crew, and there were a lot younger guys too. I mean, the crew guys was a lot younger people too involved, and it was just a great feeling. Plus, the script was magic. When I read the script, I said, "I want to be a part of this," and thank God that I was able to be a part of it. Because working with Matt Bomer, also an actor who's really well known now within the last year or two, is going places. He just directed an episode of Versace too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I didn't see the show, but I saw that he directed. Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about that whole experience.
Yeah. What was White Collar?
White Collar.
White Collar. Yeah.
Like I said,
I don't know about you, but anyway, I totally fell in love with him then. And then I remember a side story. I remember I was working a promotion at an event, and I think it was for Fox, because he wasn't out on Fox. I think it was a Fox.
A White Collar?
Yeah,
I really don't know.
I remember. But anyway, he was walking in, and I just kind of looked at him, and he said hi, and I was like, ah. And I was like, yeah, that was my little moment with Matt Bomer. So yes, 1 degree, sir, 1 degree. Who were the people that? Because we talked also about we talked about Latinos, but who were the people that influenced? Because we all had that one actor or director who influenced
There was a couple.
you.
There was a couple people growing up watching like Richard Redinez, Pepe Serna, Emilio Fernandez from Mexico, who came to made films here, But primarily seeing faces that you can relate to were like I said, Richard Redinez and Pepe Serna. First time I saw him was in Car Wash, you know what I mean? And watching his career, there was a TV show called High Chaparral that had a couple of other Latino actors that as you get older, you forget. Forget names. That was an influence also because it was probably one of the only westerns that put Latinos on a higher plateau than just being, the Mexican.
The help and the cleaner.
Yeah, the help and the cleaner. They actually were part of the ranch. Of course, the rancher who owned the ranch was Anglo, and he was married to a Latina. So that was an influence in terms of watching early on. There's a couple other actors, of course, that were sprinkled in between there, but I know Richard Redinez had a bit long career, and Pepe did really well, in terms of some of the stuff that he's done also. So from what I can remember at this point, yes, that would be the influences of seeing a familiar face or a face like you on camera.
Yeah. I have to be honest, my first introduction to like Latinos on TV was Luis and Maria on Sesame Street.
I never watched Sesame Street.
Maria reminded me of my sister.
Yeah.
So I loved watching her every day after school because Maria, like I wanted to be Maria's little brother or kid or something. Like I just wanted, and Luis, I wanted Luis to be my big brother because I didn't have any brothers. I just wanted them. All right, so God, I have so much more that I want to ask.
Well, there's can always do a part 2.
Oh no, yeah, we're coming, and I forgot to get the pan dulce, so I have to get the pan dulce.
All right.
Over your career, how have you noticed a morphing in you or a change in you?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Early on, as a green actor or an inexperienced actor, you always go to the auditions and you go, oh, man, I wish I would have done. After you close the door, you're walking and you're going driving home. You're going, damn it, I should have said it this way. I should have. Oh man, I messed up. I didn't get the role. I think I'm not going to get it. You get that mentality of, am I good enough? Am I good enough?
Do you still do that now?
Not anymore. I mean, like I said, this is 38 years in the union, 40 years doing theater and acting, musicals and stuff like that, dancing. And now, I think it happened in my late 30s, where I decided that, you walk into the audition, you do your role to the best of your ability and say, hey, this is what I got. You like me or not? You walk out the door, and then you just throw it away. And that's hard to do for an actor.
Yeah.
Because as an actor, we want,
What do you think I got my own talk show?
yeah, but we want that acceptance, We want that knowing that, they want me. And then after, like I said, after a certain while, it was like, it's just another audition. Because for me, and I'm pretty sure everybody else, it's the numbers game. Okay? The more you audition, especially for commercials, I had a pretty good commercial career early on before I even got a theatrical agent. My very first professional film with a contract was a movie called Bowfinger with Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Christine Baranski. That was 98 when I ended up landing that role. And I had a manager, I didn't even have an agent. And from that point on, it was the realization of, because I was doing a lot of other things too. I was building sets, I was a prop maker for 10 years.
Wow.
to sustain my acting while I was also doing the commercial stuff, but not the theatrical stuff. But Bowfinger was the realization to me that I need to focus on one thing, and that these actors are just regular people. They're talented, very special in that respect. Eddie Murphy funny, Steve Martin funny, but they're just regular people. Yeah. And from that point on, I said, I can do this. I'm part of this already. 3.5 months working on that feature, and learning these people. The Frank Oz director, Frank Oz is like an angel to me. He's such a great person. And he treated it, he wanted our characters, which were guys coming over the border. If you see the movie, you'll see that, Steve Martin needs a crew to film all this stuff. And he goes, we're going to get the best crew that money can buy. And of course, he has no money. It's a guerrilla shoot. And he takes his van out to the desert, and he opens up the doors, and he goes, come on! And then all of a sudden, all these immigrants are running from the immigration officers, and there's guns shooting, and there's 4 of us that jump into the van. And I become the sound man. So we got this old tape recorder, with the buttons. It was funny. It was pretty. If you ever get a chance to see that movie, Bowfinger, rent it out. I could use the money.
Good. Speaking of, I laugh now because I just joined SAG last year.
Oh, did you?
And I started getting residual checks on some stuff, and my first check was 12 cents. And I was like, yes, I've made it. Because somebody was told me when you get that first cents check, you belong.
You made it.
Yeah, and luckily enough, it was from a film that I did for a friend of mine. I was background on this film, and I got residual.
Even.
Yeah, and I got residual on it. I was like, well, go Daniel. I'm like, yes. So I'm going to frame it. I'm going to my first check.
Yeah.
Is there something particular in your career that you're most proud of?
Well, for one, I'm most proud of the fact that I've been doing this for as long as I have been.
That's a good proud.
Not a lot of people growing up, getting out of college and going to classes and meeting friends and actors, of course, and then you start realizing when you go to the auditions that there's maybe 2 or 3 left that are still auditioning with you. So I'm proud of the fact that this is my career. I've made out of nothing for myself, and that I'm still doing it, and that I'm being recognized within the last, since 2003, being recognized for your work.
Yeah.
Casting directors now know who I am, and they'll call me, call my agent in particular for roles that would go in audition. But I'm implanted in their brain already.
Right.
And to me, that's the toughest thing in the industry, because you got to make. Back in the day, we used to walk, hand off pictures and resumes. Now it's all online.
Yeah.
So you don't even get to meet these people anymore until you go to the auditions or they call you in.
Right. Yeah. I went to a coach to tell me how to make my email stand out, and I was like, wow, it's come a long way. Yeah. And I've only been in the business 10 years, but it's definitely changed in the 10 years that I've been around. So.
Well, the whole industry has changed from ever since cable happened, HBO.
Yeah.
I remember early on with some friends that I would be telling them, we gotta shoot video because I had a video camera. One of the rare few friends that had a video camera. I said we got to do our own content, put it on this cable thing, and then what happens? Everybody thought HBO was going to be just a run of the mill things, and it's not going to last.
And look at it now.
And look at it now. The unions.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the unions pretty much did away with some of our residuals in terms of the internet, in terms of cable.
Yeah, and now that is changing now too, because the being so used to the SAG, I go to all the workshops and stuff, and so new media, they're still trying to adjust how that works.
Right.
And I'm interested because everything I do is on social media.
Of course. Yeah. Well, that's where it's gone.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So that's why you have to think that way. Like I tell everybody else, that I've been working on recently on little projects. A friend of mine from USC, AFI, it's all about doing your own content and presenting it, because now they utilize YouTube and other little screeners.
Facebook has been really great about just doing Facebook Live. And I tell people, if you have your own stuff, you have a whole crew in your laptop. You just hit record, and you've got cameras, lights, everything is right there for you.
And you never know, like I always tell people, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't go up there and ask somebody, hey, I want to be a part of your project, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Sorry, we're already crewed up, or no, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a no.
Yeah.
Then you move on to the next. Like I said, to me, this industry is the numbers game. The more you audition, the more you're going to get that 1, 2, it's going to snowball. It's going to get it to another one, because when you get that one project or that one commercial, and it starts being presented out in the world, people will see you, people will recognize you, and that's what you want. You want the casting directors and directors to know who you are.
Yeah, I told the guys in Houston after I moved here, I'm like, if they hire you to be a blur in the background, you be the best blur ever. Exactly. Because they will call you back.
Exactly.
They will call you back.
Because they know that you're a committed worker in that respect. And it's like, there was a saying that it takes, you got to know somebody in this business. Well, now that's changed. For me, it's they got to know who you are, you know.
All right, so for those of you watching or listening, we're talking to Alejandro Patino, actor here in Hollywood. I will admit I was nervous about having you over. Maybe that's why I procrastinated a little bit. I've admired your work for a long time, and I've seen you in different stores. And every time I see you somewhere, like a movie we playing, I'm like, oh, there's Alejandro. And I mean this with the most art respect, but the last time I saw you at an audition, and you walked in, it shook me. Well, first of all, I was like, oh, Alejandro's here. Like, okay, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Alejandro's here. I'm not young by all means. I'm 47, but for somebody who's been in LA so short of time, it was really exciting to see us in the same space. Because I was like, oh wow, like, having such respect for you,
thank you,
and being in the same room with you was like, does this mean that I've kind of I've stepped over a line now?
Oh yeah.
Like, am I in a different box now and I just didn't realize it? So I walked out of there. I didn't get it. I didn't get the role, but I walked out of there just excited to know that at some level, we're in that same space. Of course, you're way ahead in the line than I am, but we're in that same space. I don't know, and I mean this as a young actor, as somebody who's not been here that long, it was really exciting to know that somewhere down the line somebody appreciated what I did, and or my picture or my reel, and they were like, oh, well, let's call him in too. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. What message would you have for young Alejandro when he first came to Hollywood?
Oh, wow. Young Alejandro. I would have said, if I would see myself back then now, I would say, stop partying. I was having such a good time in theater, dancing, and to be honest with you, even in dance class back in the day when I started, I was one, maybe two male dancers in class. So I'm in the dance class with 30, 40 other women. So it was, for me, it was like, I'm in heaven. If I had a time, I had that one thing where you're saying, if I could go back in time, that would be the time that I would go back. It's when I was dancing early on in my mid-20s.
Stop it. Just stop being crazy.
But that, I had that same experience that you just had, like you said, with knowing that I walked in the door. Category-wise, when I jumped up to the next category, I started auditioning up against the people that I saw on TV. Again, Richard Edinez, Pepe and all them guys. Now, that I got gray hair and no hair, I'm grandfather roles. There's that generation thing. Early on in your 20s, you're making beer commercials. In your 30s, you're the father, and then you get into your 40s and 50s, then you're the older characters. You know what I mean? So there's that transition. But I had that same thing when I'm going, oh wow, there's so and so and there's so and so, and I'm in the same room.
Yeah.
You know, and I auditioned, and I ended up getting a project. It was on FX. It was called The Bridge.
Yeah.
That a couple of those actors, like I said, my idols, were there, and they were auditioning for the same thing, and you know, surprise, I ended up getting the role. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know where you were.
Yeah.
I know where you were at.
So that for me was like, okay, well, first of all, I need to have him on my show. Second of all, I need to let him know what an honor it was just to be
thank you.
in that room. Because for some, I'm not trying not to sound cocky at all, but it kind of like, it validated that little piece of me that was going, do you even deserve to be here? Should you even be here? Mm. How the hell did you get in here?
Right.
And walking out that door, I walked out just elated. I was lighter walking out of that audition. I knew that something I did, I was like, okay, they're not going to call me back. Okay, cool. But at least I got there. I did my best. I walked out and I was like, I was sitting next to Alejandro Patino. That's the shit, man.
I think I remember that audition, and just to be honest, I don't think I got it either.
And I haven't seen the commercial on TV at all.
Thank good.
So maybe they didn't do it, because they're going back, going, we shouldn't gotten those guys. We should have gotten those guys. Is there a clear definition between your personal and professional life?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think my professional life has more focus, of course, than my personal life. My personal life is very small in terms of I hang with family. You know, I have family in Riverside. I have family in Santa Maria. From my mom's side, my dad's side to Riverside, and actually, you know, my siblings, my brothers and sisters, in that respect. And I rarely get to see them because I'm so focused as to what I'm doing in my craft.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one thing that I regret, missing out on a lot of family stuff. But they're proud. You know, they love seeing their uncle and their brother and stuff on TV. But early on, it wasn't. You know, it was like until I started getting commercials and started getting roles, and then it's like my dad would get phone calls from family friends. Oh, I saw your son on this and that in the commercial, and then, I saw him in this movie, and then it was my son's an actor.
Yeah, and that's when it turns around. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Well, he comes from business oriented in that respect. My grandfather had a business in Mexico too. He made huaraches and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And in fact, when he was here living with us in Compton, the same thing. He would do his leather stuff, and we would sell huaraches in the market, in the store.
Oh. And it's a different generation. I don't think that they
totally.
For that generation, vas a ser actor. You're going to be an actor. Like, that's not for you. That's not for us. We don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're right. It's all generational, because back then, I mean, they lived through the Depression. They grew up through the Depression.
Yeah.
They were poor. They weren't like well-off people in that respect. My parents, my dad, and my uncles had created the businesses, the stores, and the delis that we had. Between my dad's brothers, I think we had like 1, 2, 3. We had about 3 or 4 deli businesses, markets.
Wow.
In that respect.
Do you ever go back to your family for inspiration for your characters?
No, not really.
No.
You know why? Because they're here. The Papi Chulo thing, I channeled my dad a lot. Because in the movie, I don't really speak a lot of English. I don't understand a lot of English.
Okay.
So the way my dad would speak in English, even my grandfather, I channeled them when I was trying to speak in English, and I no entiendo todo, pero is what's today's. You get that language.
Yeah.
And I think back on my grandfather, or when my dad talks, with that in English, he's got that accent.
Yeah.
And it's embedded there because you grew up with these people.
Yeah, because the first time I was asked to do an accent, And I was like, okay. First of all, I was so against it because I went to high school in Mexico, junior high school. When I came back, I had an accent.
Right.
And then I went to linguistic classes
Did you?
to get rid of it. So I would go two or three times a week to do Peter Piper picked a peck. Yes, and so I could get rid of it because I was studying. I was in business classes. I was an office administrator for many years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I come to Hollywood and they're like, "Can you do an accent?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like I did a year of school to get rid of it. Like, and now you want me. But all of a sudden it's like, "Hi, I'm Daniel and I'm from Mexico and I'm so happy to be here." And it's just and I just think about my family. I'm like, okay, how does Tío Manuel say that?
Exactly. That's funny because that thing about the accent. Early on when I joined, started doing the acting thing. It was the 80s. The 80s was the year of the Latino. That's where you had a couple of certain actors and musicians and singers who were coming up. You can name them on 5 fingers on one hand. And then the 90s came, and the 80s didn't really turn out to be, the big boom. The 90s came, and then you have Ricky Martin and J-Lo and all these other people, and this is going to be the decade of the Latinos. To kind of fluttered, and then the 2000s come and the same thing. Within the 2010, we're making ground. It just turned out to be a weekend sponsored by Coors in that respect. I mean,
it's like every 10 years we have a Latin.
It's like, here we come,
fusion and orale, and then it kind of I always think it's just because, not just because. I think that one of the reasons is it's just like you said, it's just a handful, and there's all these other artists and. It seems like only certain people get invited, and it's the same people over and over again.
Right.
And I keep saying, like whenever I see on Twitter or on Facebook, why don't we have more? I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah,
I've been auditioning. I have a podcast. I have a show. Like I'm here. Like I may not be A-lister.
Right.
But
we're here.
We're here.
Yes, you're here. We're here.
And I'm like, you guys are just not looking down the barrel.
Well, the question is always, well, there's not enough talented Mexican American actors. I go, well, when do we get an opportunity to work on our craft to be talented enough, or to be, to become good enough? And that's where I say, start working on your own projects.
Yeah, because I did Callejero, which was primarily Latino. Yeah, I think there's like 2, 3 anything other than Latinos, where we're from all over the place.
Right.
And we put it out there to the Latino community, and I put it on all my Latino pages, and it just didn't get the support from it. And it irritates me. I'm like, y'all keep talking about no representation. Here's a movie with all Latinos, and
so where's the support?
And whenever I ask my Latino friends, have you seen it? They're like, no. I'm like, well, I posted it.
Right.
Like, why are you not supporting it?
Right.
Like,
it's because I think it's the assimilation process. Supposedly in the industry, we as Latinos love horror movies. So we're 60% of the people that come in and watch, those horror movies that pop up. Because spiritually, as Latinos, we're spiritual, so we love all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But that's the market. So I think we have to figure out in terms of the markets, doing our homework as businessmen. We have to figure out our market and what we have to sell. What do we have to sell for them? And it's funny because I hate to say this, but we do it to ourselves as Latinos, as Mexican Americans. We're talking about, oh man, you're stereotyping us and blah blah and this and that, and then you watch the product that we put out. We're stereotyping ourselves. I mean, it is our culture, but if we want to break away from that, then we have to find a line of that we have to cross over to everybody, so everybody can relate. If it's a movie that's strictly Mexican influence and all that stuff, and Middle America doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Why are we going to watch this?
Yeah. I keep thinking if we made like El Santo in English,
they would never get it.
They would never get it. Yeah, and I'm like, something like, and then I think like Chespirito, Chavo del Ocho, that was not, I mean, everybody in Latin America knew who they were. I'm like, we need a Mexican American Chespirito now to.
And you know who put us on the map on that? The Simpsons. Simpsons was the one that brought over Chespirito.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause and then I get frustrated because we had shows like, what was her name? Was it Clarissa?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she had a really good show.
Yeah, one season.
And I was like, where are we? Like, people watch it. And then Eva Longoria came up with the novela, which was a funny show. It was pretty funny.
Maids?
Yeah, well, no, she did one season of a show about a telenovela.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I remember that.
and she had an all Latino cast, and that Devious Maids was really good, and it got a little cheesy at the end, but it was a pretty good show.
Right.
But I'm thinking all of these Latino shows that we do have, and then people just stop watching, like, or they're on one season and then they're gone. Right. And I feel it's just like the network going, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. Yeah, we fed them a little bit. We're going to get rid of it.
Right.
So,
but then again, that goes back to my thing about being able to cross over.
Yeah.
You know, if it's strictly Latino or Mexican or whatever, it gets pigeonholed into a category.
Yeah.
You know, if you got to find that one, it's hard, but you got to find that one crossover line. Where everybody can relate to what those characters are doing. It's like One Day at a Time.
Yeah, that's turned out to be a really good show.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
That's another one that crossed over. And then now, what's happening now? Jay Hernandez is the new whatchamacallit from Hawaii, Tom Selleck.
Magnum P.I.
He's the new Magnum P.I. A Latino.
Oh wow! Because the original. What kept going around, I haven't read that, but what kept coming around was it was going to be a girl. Mm-hmm. Somehow they were going to play that he had a daughter, but I didn't know this part. I have to look it up now.
Yeah, I saw it on.
He's good.
Online. Yeah.
He's good.
Jay's good. I like Jay's work.
What's next for you?
Me? Well, like I said, this movie Papi Chulo with Matt Bomer, written and directed by John Butler, who is from Ireland, and. That's why I told him when I read the script, I go, man, this is magic. This is magic. And thank you for casting me. I even sent him an email. Thank you for casting me. I think you made the right choice.
Kudos to you.
Yeah. I was working on a background on a movie called Nuts with Carl Malden, Maureen Stapleton, Barbara Streisand, Richard Dreyfuss. And Carl Malden came up to me and we started talking at the craft service table. And I go, well, how do you do it? I mean, this longevity and that stuff. He goes, well, there's going to be one day you're going to get a script, read it, and you go, wow, this is the role, this is me, and you're going to get an opportunity. If you're right for it, you're going to get it, and you get an opportunity to do that. So when it comes out, it's going to put you on a certain level, another level, and in terms of the longevity, how are you going to be able to sustain that is. Study.
Cool.
You got to keep studying because that's what it's all about. As actors, we don't get a diploma that says, "Whoa, here, go."
Yeah, your next level.
Your next level. Go ahead. As actors, we're always learning because as actors, we're recreating life experiences.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell some other older actors also. I go, it doesn't matter what time. Or age you get into the business of acting, because what we're doing is we're using our experience, life experience, to portray the characters because they have those experiences also. So you're able to probably pick up stuff as an older actor. You'll probably be able to get more in depth into the character than somebody who hasn't lived that life.
Yeah. So we're at the part of the show where we send some words of wisdom to the people watching or listening.
Right.
What words of wisdom does Alejandro Patino have for my audience?
For those of you listening, I would say be patient, be acceptable, And the word that keeps popping up for me is love. You know, love what you do, love who you're with, and keep that essence of who you are, and not change. You know, for whatever reasons, whether it's money, fame, or whatever. You know, I'm told that I'm always humble. You know, I'm a humble person, which I am. I don't really seek out the fame, the fortune. Yeah, everybody wants the fortune to be able to sustain in life. You know, but be humble and love. You know, love a lot, because that's what we need in this world. We need love.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. We have a couple more minutes. 10 more minutes. Trying to think of, like I said, I had a lot of questions, and then we got caught up in the conversation. I'm like, now what do I ask? Right. You talked about, you kind of mentioned a little bit about your regret about working so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm a workaholic, and sometimes I miss out on stuff too. Mm-hmm. What would you tell somebody else who's a workaholic and kind of goes, especially in acting, mm-hmm. and puts everything else aside? Do you think it's helped you? Do you think it's hurt you?
Well, no, it's definitely helped. But in terms of the family, you know, losing out on a lot of stuff, I think, especially now at my age, you know, at 58, you know, I'm going, I don't have to put that much into my career because it's already established. Now I can say, you know, I want to spend time with family. Mm-hmm. So it's just that, find that time to reconnect, recharge. You know what I mean? Because family, to me, family is everything. I mean, because you create families in this industry, as you know, right. as actors. We've got a theater family. We got our, if you're on a TV show long enough, you got a TV show family. You know, right. But always go back to where your roots are, because that's where you recharge. That's where you find. For myself, that's where I find my identity again.
That's very cool. Yeah. I have one more question. I just forgot it. A lot of as actors, our IMDb page is our history. That's where people go to. But in your own personal history, what do you want people to remember about you?
Hopefully in my work, I'm showing the ability to perform and be an actor. The roles that I've gotten character-wise, you get a couple lines, you know, one day work, blah, blah. This movie that's coming out soon, Papi Chulo, is going to show that I have more to give as an actor than that character that is, you know, just the one-liner or two-liner thing. I'm able to be up one-on-one with names.
Right.
I mean, but given the opportunity, Mr. John Butler, like I told you, gave me that opportunity with the script. When I read the script, it was like, you know, this is magic. It's going to be a beautiful story. So I would say my acting, which is now forever, you know. So my family will be able to go back. My great nieces and nephews, you know, will be able to say, "This is my uncle."
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I guess that in the end, there really isn't a line between, as actors, there's not a line between our personal and professional. I mean, it gets blurred because your memories are on film. Right. I mean, that's a memory that you personally have. You know what I mean? It just kind of goes back and forth. So that's pretty awesome. So we're almost out of time. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
Well, I am on Instagram, Alejandro Patino 12, and of course Facebook, Alejandro Patino. You can find me there. Twitter, I'm not much of a Twitterer in that respect, but I do have a Twitter account. I just don't remember the.
We'll find you and put it on there. Yeah.
But those are the major ones. Facebook and my Instagram.
And then remind people, Papi Chulo, when does it come out? Or
Papi Chulo just finished. We just finished shooting it about a month ago, so they're in post. Hopefully, it'll be coming out for festivals sometime after the summer, and then we're waiting to see if we find a distributor. and then it'll probably. I'm thinking it'll probably come out in Europe first, since it's an Irish Film Commissioned project, and then probably by the end or the beginning of next year, it'll probably be out here in the United States.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Maybe by then I'll have bigger titles and I can be there at the red carpet interviewing all you guys
There you go.
for my own show.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.